I'm ready to go live. It asked me if I was ready to go live, and I am. Hello, I'm Josh Robert Thompson, and I don't know if this is working. Hopefully it is. We're going to be working out all of the bugs on today's show. I want to give a shout out to the folks at StreamYard, just pretending like they're sponsoring this program. Thanks, StreamYard. You may notice also a slight delay in my voice. No, I'm not doing an impression of an American, English dubbed Godzilla film. That's because I'm using a system called Camlink from the folks at Elgato. Elgato, also a fake sponsor of this program. Welcome to the Josh Robert Thompson YouTube channel. And today's program, Kenobi Korner. This is where I would roll in the graphics. This is where I would go, Kenobi Korner. And eventually that will happen. Eventually we will have these amazing graphics. And not to disparage, listen, we all know this is how it goes sometimes in these live broadcasts. You get these young guys, young YouTubers doing great work out there, by the way. And what they'll do is they'll get a friend to put together an amazing intro, like a 30-minute or 60-second intro with all these amazing graphics and this music. And it's like, and now here's the host of your show, right? And then they cut to like, a guy doing a broadcast out of his, kitchen on a flip phone. So we're trying to move past that. Anyway, I hope you guys can see this. Let me know if you can or cannot. I'm going to welcome my guests to the program. This is a fake show called Kenobi Korner with a K. It's something cute I came up with. All right. Give me a break, will you? We will get into what I've been up to. I know a lot of you want to know, Josh, are you homeless? Did you quit the business? Are you dead? No to all of those things. Some of you, and no offense, I love you guys, maybe give Google a try. Maybe give a Google search a try. You know what I mean? Listen, type in my name, try it. Leave right now and just try it. And the first page, you're going to find you've been missing a lot. Anyway, my two guests are here and they're ready. And hopefully I can make this work. Let's bring them in. First is a guy who really needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. He's a multifaceted guy. He's an actor, comedian. He does impressions. He is very adept and very skilled at doing impressions, but he is also a filmmaker. He is a tremendously great actor. He's a writer. He does it all, folks. And he's an artist. He really is an artist, and he's a good friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Costa joining us.
Oh, you were talking about me.
I was talking about you, buddy.
Else.
That looks nice. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing extra well looking at you on this amazing broadcast.
How's it going so far?
It's actually, it's doing quite well.
I want to thank you for this because Jamie encouraged me to do this. We did a live show maybe a couple weeks ago. You hosted a live show talking about, Star Wars chat with you and your friend Mark McKenna, right? And it's a childhood friend of yours, right? Mark McKenna.
Yeah,
who will be joining us shortly. And you said, hey, you should do this. You should do this on your channel. And I felt like, Han Solo. I felt like the grizzled, the old warrior who's like, well, I don't know, maybe one last time. It's like I was coming out of retirement, I mean, I haven't been retired, but you know what I mean. So thank you, man, for encouraging me to do this. I appreciate it.
I mean, the people will tell you that this is what they like. You're good at it. You're good at many things, but this is a lovely addition to what you're up to.
It's a good setup here, and we're going to be talking about Star Wars. We may talk about other things as well. I just sort of jokingly called it Kenobi Korner.
I love
it's not the name. It's not the name of the show.
Elgato.
By the way, Elgato, the folks at Elgato, thank you again for supplying us. Not really, because I went and bought it and I paid full price for it. But if you did supply it to us, thank you so much
If
for
you're
your
out
help.
there, Otto, and listening,
Yeah, and maybe Elgato, maybe work on that audio delay. Maybe figure that out, huh? But anyway, the T-shirt you're wearing is from
yeah,
your film. I mean, we call it a fan film, but it's a film, and you're a fan. But you made this film along with a bunch of other amazing people called Kenobi, and you played Kenobi in this film.
yeah, and then you played another Jedi Master as well.
Well, I did.
Where I hope I hate to break this out so early, but I hope you're ready to step in a lot further into.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm very ready. Because we're going to be talking about Obi Wan Kenobi. And to join us, we have to get someone else in here, because this is a guy that I only met for the first time a few weeks ago. And this is a very good friend of yours, a childhood friend of yours. Is that right?
Introduced me largely to Star Wars. So
He did. Okay. So Mark McKenna joining us on the stream.
Hey.
There he is. Superstar Mark McKenna.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Oh,
Good,
very
good.
well. Oh, very well. Oh, I started doing my Jeff Goldblum. Mark McKenna, you look great. You're very green. You've got a lot of green going on today.
Well, these programs always ask you if you got a green screen, for your fancy backgrounds. I said, well, can't manage the green screen, but I can manage a green hat and a green shirt. So I'll use what I got.
I love it. I wish that you would put some kind of backdrop and key it onto your clothing, and then we would just see your face floating.
Magical floating head.
Maybe like over Tatooine or something, because we don't go to that planet enough. But we'll get to that in just a moment.
Your George Lucas lava planet.
Well, that's Mustafar, and we don't talk about that because they really screwed that up. So, Mark, tell me how did you and Jamie meet one another? You've known each other for a long time.
Yeah,
I don't know. Does basically birth count?
Okay,
I mean,
Jamie,
yeah, Jamie's just a smidge older than me, I think, just by a year maybe or so.
Yeah,
and we grew up in the same part of Charleston, and ran in the same circles, school, church, all that kind of stuff. Our parents, good friends, and all that kind of stuff. So we saw a lot of each other. I don't know if you and I did sports much together. I think I was doing the rec thing. You were doing something else, and then,
a little bit. I think we hit some balls in the tennis court.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'll fly out to LA, and we'll try that again sometime. But yeah, so there was a kind of like a stretch of time, maybe a year or two, Jamie, where I feel like you and I were together weekly, and it was just you and me, just killing time till our parents were done doing whatever, and then we would. I distinctly remember the music you love.
Yeah.
I remember that you love the music. I also remember you absolutely trying to get me to basically die laughing doing, and it's so funny because I don't hear you do this anymore, but your Palpatine impersonation. You would absolutely kill me with that. And it's a shame you don't break it out, at least not that I see like online stuff, but like
and don't worry, I'm not going to do the morning radio thing where I go, Jamie, we got to hear it. Mark said it. Jamie, we got to hear it right here on KLOG, KLOG, all Kenny Loggins all day, all night. And we've got Jamie. Jamie, you going to give us a little Palpatine?
Good, Anakin, good.
Oh, man, that is so good. That's a little Palpatine to get you home. The traffic is backed up on the 405. You might say it's a danger zone. Here's Kenny Loggins to get you home. That was amazing.
Well, it's true, though. So Mark was who I went to get me like my Napster steals of soundtrack from or whatever. It's like, can you get me the soundtracks? And he would like burn them on the disc for me and stuff like that. For Star Wars.
By the way, did you guys coordinate baseball caps today? What is the I didn't get the memo. Was I supposed to wear
This is how the people know not to take it too serious.
I should have. I'm so sorry. I got all this lighting. I should have just worn no shirt and like a bandana or something. I apologize.
That would be fun right there. What a relaxed McConaughey vibe.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking about, man. I should. Next time I'm going to wear orange for Jar Jar because I feel like Mark is wearing green maybe for. Yeah. What's that thing called? Baby Yoda? Do we know what's the name of that thing? Yaddle? No. What is it called? what's the
The
little
name
yeah,
of
what's
the
his name? Yeah, what's the
Grogu.
Oh, Grogu.
Grogu.
Mark says it. He goes, Mark, he has this affable, friendly way of saying, come on, hey, Grogu. Everybody does know. I should have known, and I apologize. So look, guys, let's get into it because we last time we spoke, we were covering the first half of Kenobi.
Yeah.
And also,
yeah.
Pardon me because I'm going to be playing around with some technical things. Ooh,
Oh, wow.
Look at that. There you go.
Wow.
Look at that. I put my Twitter handle next to my name. There's my all the stuff underneath me very busy. Jamie just put Jamie because he's so cool that everybody knows who he is. And then Mark, of course, like a normal person, just put Mark McKenna. I have so much information. I apologize for that. Last time we spoke, what episode did we get to on Kenobi?
I think we made it through 3. And then we have to dive into.
All right. Well, the show's over, and I couldn't be happier that it's done. And I'm gonna listen. All due respect, I know a lot of people worked really hard on this show, and there were some really cool moments for sure. But I'd love to just go around and hear your thoughts, starting with either one of you fellows. What you thought about the finale?
Go ahead, Mark.
Of Kenobi.
So if we're just doing the finale, I would say, why weren't we doing this in parts 1 through 5?
Yeah.
So like the resonance there was great. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, yeah, I would be very enthusiastic about 6 parts of this, and not kind of the, no offense, time wasting that we did earlier in the series. Like I would have watched Anakin and Vader duel for another 30 minutes. I would have watched them maybe have some intercut dialogue in the duel, kind of like in episode 3, where at points there's a fight, dialogue break, briefly fight, dialogue break, and then the big climax at the end. Like something like that maybe, because it's one of those things where watching that episode and then looking back at the run times of other episodes and being like, we had this kind of material and we had an episode that was 38 minutes long or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. Like, you really think the fans aren't going to watch an extra 12 minutes of Star Wars? We're here. Give it to us. So that was great. I mean, the mask reveal was awesome. Grade A props to the people who did the voice synthesis.
That was wild.
Scene.
Yeah.
That was 100%, no flaws. Perfect. There's nothing you could say about that. I don't think.
So it was a synthesized voice.
Yes, it's been messed with because it's very different also from Rogue One,
which was just pure, James Earl Jones as he is now.
Got wheeled in and gave it his best. And
right.
And this one, they really helped it like they do with Luke's, I believe, in or whatever one he showed up in.
Really good then. I mean, it's
really.
I feel like it comes off a lot better here because it has Hayden's voice to work with, rather than just trying to artificially create James Earl Jones from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is what they were trying to do with Luke, basically. And I feel like that didn't turn out as well because you're trying to do one person's voice that has a distinct voice. You're trying to recreate a sound from a long time ago. Whereas now we're taking James Earl Jones, and mixing it with Hayden. I think that gives you a little more freedom for it to be different, but still great. I think that's what they accomplished here. That was awesome. Then the makeup job was awesome.
Amazing effect.
Are we able to credit Hayden for helping bring out the Vader performance? Is that him is that him helping the acting of it?
I'd certainly say so.
I feel like, for sure. I mean, the switching back and forth between the sort of robotic, Vader voice and Anakin was that really was truly chilling. I think that moment,
some of the best in there too.
Yeah. And I think that moment and a few episodes prior when Obi Wan thinks he sees Anakin out in the distance when Jamie, what planet were they on? Arizona, Phoenix?
And the Mos Espa Joshua Tree-ish.
Joshua Tree. When they were on planet Joshua Tree. But to Mark's point, I think we wanted more of that. And I think we needed more of that stuff in the first few episodes. You know, I want to see, and they didn't go dark enough. Anyway, I wanted to see more of Obi-Wan sort of really losing his way and having these visions and dreams and remembering the good times with his friends, because they really needed to drive home that heartache. I think if that was important. But anyway, I digress. It's not my turn yet. Continue, fellas. So we're talking about the final episode and what you thought about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've chatted a little bit, Josh, on the side about how it felt like what you were saying, Mark, where we had a whole series of stuff that didn't help what we got spoon-fed real quick we got our lobster at the end of a full plain meal. We already ate all this whatever, and then at the end they give us like the best food to just and we can't appreciate it because it's just boom, we're filled up too much and we're gonna throw it all up. And anyways, cinematically that happened too. Like you go earlier back in the show and it feels more and more like a TV show. Then as you worked into this final episode, it felt we started to get shocked with a little bit of cinematic old school Star Wars, and not just old school recycled bits, but like something that just made us feel the weight of importance that the old trilogies bring us. And so anyways, that got me going, but it highlighted itself of characters and well, mainly characters, but also cinematic stuff of oh man, you gave us some good things, and it makes me realize all these. It makes the bad stuff stand out, and so
it makes me want to rewatch. All it did was make me immediately just put in Attack of the Clones, and maybe listen, just like Stranger Things, reintroducing classic songs from the 80s to a whole new generation. Maybe that's the other positive we could take away from something like the Obi Wan Kenobi series, is even if you didn't care for it, perhaps it opens the pathway to many abilities, some considered to be unnatural. No, maybe it makes younger people want to go back and look at those other films now, where before maybe they wouldn't. And so I rewatched Attack of the Clones, and man, that was fantastic.
And you saying that makes me go, ugh, that would have been a great thing too if they thought on that note as they made it.
Yeah,
because you could go infinitely further with hammering that kind of thing home too.
I would have loved to see more flashback. I mean, that just to see that the sort of training, that was that sequence. Just seeing Hayden as Anakin again, and seeing them training and having that kind of dialogue that's very reminiscent of Star Wars, that feels like Star Wars, that feels like that, that mythological sort of fantasy space fairy tale kind of thing that we're used to. That was some amazing sort of like Empire Strikes Back, Lawrence Kasdan style dialogue that was happening in that one scene. And I would love to have seen more of that, in different battles, different scenarios, as Obi-Wan was having these flashbacks. And I often wondered, whose perspective were those flashbacks from? Because I thought at first it was just Vader thinking back on that, and then you realize it was Obi-Wan. Because I wondered if they kept kind of Hayden looking a little older, if that was the way that Vader saw himself, or if he had wished that he could have gotten older and still been friends with Obi-Wan. I mean, that I was looking too deep into it, but anyway.
No, they needed deep fake is what they needed. I think it would have been helpful to see them the same. If you're going to do a move like that, play with what you got. They're magic movie makers. Make them look exactly like that era. But yeah, I could have lived with what they gave. Oh, I mean, I was good, but it was so surprising to see how much they could have done, and it's like they meant not to do certain things. It's like interesting to me. Like, to me, Star Wars has some big plots you could have furthered and just this could have been the Logan for they have different styles for all the different audience right now. They have the kids, and adults, and
Right.
let this be don't make it 10-year-olds. Now I think they placed it right at the 10-year mark so that they could pull in 10-year-olds and have it a kid show. But
yeah,
I think they would have done it right when Luke was about 3, coming up on 4 or 5. Whenever he's starting to talk more, that's when there'd be this interest to explore Force using and training him and stuff like that.
I mean, but as we learn, little Luke was knocked unconscious, and that's why he doesn't remember anything. But let me ask you this: you guys, I mean, was that?
That was terrible.
Stop pouring salt on the good stuff that we had.
What are we? What are we?
And that's the bad thing.
I mean, come on.
It was so sad to go from really juicy Obi-Wan and Vader to why are you here again chasing this kid? By the way, let's explore that for just a second. She doesn't know who that is.
Right.
She doesn't even know who Luke is. Who the hell is Luke to her?
Yeah, because it didn't. Right.
She
so because that would have been like, oh, I'm going to kill your son. Therefore, I'm going to get back at you.
With what the show gave us was just picking out one kid on Tatooine to go kill.
She's Reva. She knows it all. And listen, this is not a comment on the the actor, but the character was a non-character. The character was totally unnecessary to the story. I mean, that character should have been completely removed.
I could have, having played Jedi Fallen Order and stuff, I could have watched a whole series called The Inquisitors, and then if they furthered her up and made more sense of her, she could be perfectly laid in, I think, as a character, and play with Vader and all the things.
Do you remember when there was the expanded universe? And Mark, I think we were talking about this last time. We were talking about all the books and the comic books and all that stuff that's now, I guess at one point Lucasfilm just said, that's it. All that stuff doesn't count. Now it's called what? Legends? Is that what it's called? Legends of the Force?
That was Disney's call. That was
Disney's call. Right.
Send it into the ethereal void forever, and we're not going to talk about it again, except when you want to rip something off and not have to pay the creator. Then it
okay. But, so that is interesting. And the reason I bring it up, because do you remember there was only one mandate that Lucasfilm and Uncle George, the only mandate that I had, hi guys, George Lucas here. The only mandate that I had was, well, hold on, I'll put the wig on because I think it'll be better. This will probably look better if hold on a second, guys. I think this is what we really need. Let me there we go.
Oh, we get serious.
There we go. All right, let me, where's my glasses? There we go. Okay. Well, sure. So, back when we had the expanded universe, hi, by the way, George Lucas, creator of the Star Wars saga. Back when we had that, my only mandate was you guys cannot interfere with the main story. You can talk about maybe Luke has, he grows plants or something. We could do a whole episode about telekinetic bunny rabbits, the hoojibs. Fine, I don't care. But don't touch Daddy's story. Don't add to my story. You could talk about Lando's gambling debts, some of the women that he's wronged, some of the hoes. That's a technical term. But what I'm saying is you can't touch Daddy's work. And now what they've done here is they've interfered with the main crux of the saga, and that's the problem I have with this story. Is that you're changing things fundamental to episode 4. You're saying that Obi-Wan met Leia, which is total BS, and you're saying that somehow she chose to forget it, or she knew at 9 years old to be a tough little girl and just pretend like it didn't happen. It's all bullshit. And that's what do you guys think about that? You think that's what the case is here?
Can we talk about also, it's funny to talk about their ages and hanging out with Leia, and like, and when he's like, is she showing, or like he's only concerned if Luke is butting into Force using or something. And it's like, when you guys brought him in front of Mace Windu in that crowd, or brought Anakin in front of them, they were like, oh, he's 9, he's way old. Sorry, get out of here. He's way old.
Yeah.
So No,
He's too old. When you're like 3 years old, you're too old to start the training. I don't know who came up. I think it was Yoda who came up with that. Mark seems like he knows. What do you say, Mark?
Well, it kind of begs. So this is something that I'm open to being corrected on, but like it kind of begs the question: what exactly was Obi-Wan and Yoda's plan here? Is the plan for Luke and Leia just to be in hiding forever,
right?
Or are they supposed to be training them to prepare them to take on Vader and the Emperor? Is that the plan? Because if that's the plan, why were they not just in hiding, being trained the whole time? And if that wasn't the plan, then why does Obi-Wan care if he's showing other than to say, oh, now we really got to go into super duper hiding?
Well, that's true. That's a good point that you make, Mark. God, I wish you were around when I was making those prequels. I could have really used your help on those. But I'll tell you what, there's that moment in A New Hope when Obi-Wan is about to, get taken out by Vader. He's having that duel with Vader. And he looks over at Luke and he kind of has that look like, all right, you know what, this kid, well, there's no indication that this kid has any abilities whatsoever. He's this whiny little bitch, but somehow he knows that this kid is going to do it. But it's only because Obi-Wan intervenes in his Force ghost.
And it ain't because he got to spend a whole Disney Plus series with him 10 years back.
I mean, I got to take this wig off. I can't, you guys are getting serious now.
I can't.
It's really hard. Listen, do we need to know all this information? That's the bottom line. Do we need all this information? It's one thing when George gives us those fun connections, like, did you know that Anakin built C-3PO? I love all that stuff. It's poetry, it rhymes. I love all that. That's beautiful. And that's part of a 6-movie saga. That's part of one contained story. But do we need to keep, like, you know what I mean? It feels like, hey, he's going to say the line again. Hello there. And you go, okay, I understand. I know. But is that the problem I'm having with this series? Help me understand why I don't like this series.
Well, I think the issue is that we spent, like I said earlier, we spent time on the wrong things. So I think, Josh, maybe you'd feel differently. Let me just pitch something. Instead of spending our time planet hopping, trying to rescue Leia, what if we spend time, doing more of these flashbacks and Obi-Wan working through his trauma? We have incidences, even if he has a run-in with the Empire and with Vader. Let's say that we still want to get to the end point where they have another duel. Right? If that's where we want to go, I'm on board. That's great. But how do we get there in such a way that's the maximum amount of construction for why does this show exist and why do we want to care about it? Right. The why do we care about it was revealed to us, as Jamie said, by having a giant spoonful of awesome shoved in our faces for about 50 minutes at the end. So, like, there's our why. So how do we get there? Well, how do we get there was not really achieved, in my opinion, by the preceding 5 hours thereabouts of television. Right. So how do we get there? Well, we need to spend more time with Obi-Wan working through the PTSD and trauma of all that. How do we do that? Well, we have flashbacks. We have cuts away to Vader and what he's going through. Jamie, you and I talked at one point. There's a fantastic panel. I think it's the Charles Soule comic where you see Anakin Vader meditating and what he looks like in the Force. He's just you know what I'm talking about, right? So he's hovering off the ground. His limbs are white because they're artificial; they're not real. And then his torso and head is just wreathed in flame. He's on this like hellscape of this torment. Wow. You can't tell me we can do something like that. Like, we can get in his head. We have time. We had 6 hours, right? We could have done it.
That piece of art is some of the most emotionally packed art without saying a thing. It's like, wow. Like, you're telling me just a picture can make me move more than the whole.
Also, let me say this. Was it not enough for you people? Was it not enough for you in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin gets his legs cut off by his best friend in the world? Was it not enough for you that he burns alive and shouts out to his friend, his brother, I hate you? Was it not enough? Did you need this other fight? I know it's cool. It's very cool. It's cool to hear Anakin's voice switch back and forth, and the image is amazing. But I feel like I already got it. I got it. But, and I felt sad, and here's why I felt sad. I felt sad watching it, not because of the characters. I felt this overwhelming, I don't know if you guys felt this too, but I felt this overwhelming sense watching this last episode of Obi Wan Kenobi, and I've never felt this before watching any of these Star Wars new films. I felt the sense of you can never go back home again. I felt this horrible feeling of like, man, I wish we could go back 20 years ago, and I miss these guys, but not like this. And it was like, oh, this is so cool, but it's also sad, and the red eyes and the voice, and it's breaking my heart, but in a way that wasn't so much about the story of Anakin and Obi-Wan. It was more about nostalgia, and I don't want to see these guys this way, but it is cool. But you know what I mean? I felt that sense that being torn.
It felt like this show was like they were like it's been their elephant in the room for a while that for some reason they didn't want to make out of the gate. And so they kind of been procrastinating making an Obi-Wan anything. And then they're like, oh, okay, we'll make one. And they just pop one out with some things to come into the last episode. But to me, there's so many big chunks of reasons to have the show. You got to have Obi-Wan and Yoda talk about the marching orders. Like, what are they up to? What's this training? That's a big part of the show. That was a small part of the show. The kids being known to the Emperor is a big part of the show. It's like, but that element was gone. I could have done without no fight whatsoever. Just absolutely get close a couple times when it's panicky about like, it gets so close, but then it doesn't happen, and then like makes us like sweat. And that could be
that's great.
And that could be when Vader senses his presence, and he could just be like, man, I sensed that boy about 10 years ago and I didn't get to him. And
that's my favorite. Yeah, I sense something, a presence I've not felt since. I mean, it's so mysterious, and you don't really need any more of that. Again, I just look at this like I look at this series and it's fine. It's not terrible. It's not. There's a lot of really great things in it, but I look at it like it's a book I bought in 1997 at Barnes and Noble. I went to Borders bookstore when it was open, and I probably bought this as a paperback, and it was written by some author I'd never heard of, and I read it and I went, oh, that was interesting. That's not really part of the thing, but that would be kind of cool if that happened. It feels like the Star Wars version of the What If series from Marvel. I think if they had packaged that like what if this happened, I would have been like, oh, that's cool. It didn't happen, but what if?
That's how about all the Disney Star Wars movies. It's like they're all what ifs.
What if?
but with no real furthered plot to the main core of anything. Because so it's funny you say, and as George was saying about looking over and seeing what we talked about at the end of the last podcast, where that moment is. I've done, we read that article today about when Qui-Gon goes into his serene, calm, peaceful, which is something Yoda quotes in Empire Strikes Back is that's the key elements of a Jedi, not the Sith. They didn't dive into Sith and Jedi lore, which is to me like I would have watched an hour of them talk about it.
That mysticism is so important to the whole thing. Even Darth Maul. Something about Darth. We've talked about that scene before, but it's worth talking about again. That in Phantom Menace, we're talking about the scene before the big final duel, and I mean the duel of the fates. I mean that is the moment when everything changes. That is the single moment where the path completely changes for Obi Wan Kenobi and for the Force and for Anakin and for everybody.
Yeah, that moment of ours is actually. I didn't realize it till reading that thing today. I was like you just said, that's probably one of the most pivotal times in all of Star Wars's history.
It is. And you can feel it. You can feel that something else is at work. It's the music. It's John Williams' score. It's the way it's shot. It's the deliberate close-ups. Suddenly there's very intense close-ups on Qui-Gon meditating, and then Darth Maul pacing like a wild animal, waiting. that is a really wild, mystical scene that makes Star Wars all worthwhile. That's the stuff that we're talking about.
And Obi-Wan, interestingly enough, is not at peace yet, you know.
No.
But
right.
But there's so much room. Like we talked about, I have a fan pitch to help A New Hope to make sense of why they even fight the way they fight in A New Hope. Because now Obi-Wan's at peace, and he already knows a moment is about to happen to where he'll be able to pass the torch on of the trick,
right,
of going on to the next stage of.
Did we talk about that? I don't know if Mark had brought that up last time. Did we decide if Qui-Gon knew? Like Qui-Gon was preparing himself. Did he know? He was just preparing himself for whatever was going to happen, whatever the outcome would be, or did he know maybe that he was going to let himself go and become one with the Force in that moment before he gets killed?
That's a hard question, because you have to wonder, like, well, if Qui-Gon knew that he was going to die, you know, and become one with the Force, did he also know the consequences?
Yeah,
because then you're like, yeah, you know, I understand you might be playing the long game, but that's dooming an awful lot of people to misery under the Empire for your, you know, Force hunch or intuition.
Well, he may have been just who knows what he was privied to, because for knowledge, because he may have been protecting further than what we got, because if Anakin is in the wrong hands, he'll be from the early stages going into the Sith. I mean, the old Emperor was, remember, he was keeping an eye on him from way back, you know.
right. Yeah, we shall watch your career with great interest.
With great interest. I think he had a plan for Annie way back. I mean,
isn't George amazing? I mean, isn't it amazing how George just kind of like, he gives you these little tidbits, you know, even in his own awkward way sometimes, but he doesn't give you everything. He gives you just enough, and he's not really interested in showing you everything, to be honest with you, which I find that fascinating. It's kind of like, well, you just sort of assume these things are right. Also, hats off to Hayden Christensen, who really has proven, I mean, he's already proven, the film he did, Glass, and he did Life as a House. He's a great actor. There's no question about it. But going back and watching Revenge of the Sith recently, he's tremendous in that film. He is so weird, and it's like it turns creepy, but pained and sad and overwrought with, you know, worry for his wife, and it's a really wild performance. It really is.
Well, I mean, it's a man who loves and feels very deeply, but yet his upbringing wholly unprepared him to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't take and that's why, you know, to a certain extent, you know, Yoda and Mace Windu were right with Anakin. I don't think. Well, Luke proves that the whole "they got to be young" doesn't work universally. But with Anakin, it proves up, because he'd already suffered certain degrees of issues, and he would continue to suffer them. But the life of a ascetic, monastic Jedi, that's not going to work for someone like that. It's just not going to. And you turn them into it. You turn them in. You know, he finds like a surrogate father figure in Qui-Gon. He's dead like 48 hours later. Like, that does not do good things for people, right? Like,
that's true. That's a great point.
He was a ticking time bomb the entire time, based on what happened to him. And, you know, then you're like, okay, you've got all these huge feelings. Like, I've got a 3-year-old. So when I say big feelings, this is what I'm talking about. It's like the 3-year-old has big feelings. And as an adult, sometimes it's hard to deal with. You just say, okay, I know you're feeling some big feelings. Here's how we're going to work through them. You can't preach monasticism to a 3-year-old, and you can't preach monasticism to a guy who's had all this kind of stuff happen to him. And then you compile more stuff on top of that as time goes on. It doesn't work.
Well, that is the interesting thing. That is very interesting, because all of Phantom Menace is really childlike in the color scheme. The actual color palette of the film itself is certainly the most brightly colored of all the Star Wars films, on purpose. And there are many shots that are from Anakin's perspective, especially when they get to Coruscant and they're landing on the platform and they're meeting Chancellor Valorum, and you're seeing all of you're seeing it through Anakin's perspective. But as you said, Mark, from a child's perspective. So Lucas has the camera pointing up as Chancellor Valorum is talking, and they're having these weird meetings and discussions about political things that he doesn't quite understand. but he's sort of taking it all in, and he's having to grow up very quickly. He's just had to say goodbye to his mother, and he's arrived on this wild city planet. And I think that's the genius of the Phantom Menace, is that it is, even through Jar Jar, the character of this silly friend, this affable, innocent being who really, Jar Jar really embodies the spirit of childhood. I mean, the awkwardness of it, the good-naturedness, that sort of silly, sweet.
He was
just,
the art,
and
C-3PO for that trilogy, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And listen, it's not like, look, it's not like I'm a big fan of Jar Jar. I mean, it's not like I go out of my way to collect Jar Jar Binks stuff, because that would be weird. I wouldn't do that. Other people might. But I'm just saying, poster back there as a spokesperson for Jar Jar.
I gotta say, I just love that there is a Black Series edition of Jar Jar.
By the way, it is incredible. Thank you for mentioning that. The Black Series, which came out a few years ago, of Jar Jar Binks, is really well done. But what I love about it is the artwork on the back is an incredible depiction of what I think, the more grizzled Jar Jar Binks would be.
If you would reintroduce
the Black Series. This is the Black Series, man. Hey, what's up, man? This is Jar Jar Binks, man. First of all, no, not that, not that. Are we live? We can't edit this? All right. Listen, I want to apologize very quickly. This is the part of the show where guys, give me just a second. This is the part of the show where I have to apologize to Disney. I've done work for you, and I love you guys, and you're doing a bang up job. So please continue to hire me, and listen, I'll do the job. Whatever you guys put out. And I have a subscription, by the way, to Disney Plus. I bought the year. So I'm in it for the long haul. Love you guys. Love you guys. Also, my apologies to Ahmed Best. We've worked together a couple of times, and I apologize for doing that voice just now. I want to apologize to really everybody. Thank you. That was my apology. And now back to the show.
I have no apologies for what I just. That was.
I don't really care.
This sponsor brought by your future.
Yeah, don't forget, our show is brought to you by StreamYard. Let's give a toast to the folks at StreamYard. What a great job you're doing. Once again, I apologize for the delay. If there's an audio delay on my part, it's because I decided to use a nice microphone, and that's what happens when you use good equipment. You pay for it. But hey, maybe the folks at Elgato with their Camlink 4K can get it together. You're still doing a great job. Love you guys. Now back to the show. All right, fellas, we're talking about Star Wars.
Well, to bring it back to Kenobi, that perspective stuff that you guys were just chatting is something the series didn't have. Is this interesting perspective from Obi-Wan, like what his lens is like for us in this time. It didn't mind that. It didn't even think about that. That's where I think it stands out from the more serious and different, the old trilogies and stuff. It didn't have this perspective lens that, like you said, there's a lot of child growing up going on in episode 1, which is really cool. Because when I saw it, I was a kid. I was 7, and so like seeing. Were you really?
How old are you? Well, hold on. You were 7, Mark? How old were you when Phantom Menace came out? 7?
Yeah. Yeah.
In that ballpark.
Really?
Yeah. And so
I was 24.
That's awesome.
Now so this is it, and I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, Mark, that's an amazing observation about childhood and this loss of innocence, because I think that's the whole point of Anakin's story. I mean, taken from his mother at this young age, and then, but more importantly, seeing this father figure taken away from him almost immediately, is something that would have an incredible effect on someone so young. And then in Attack of the Clones, an amazing scene, a scene that gets me every time when he goes back to try and save his mother. And of course it's melodramatic and it's very poetic and it's done that way on purpose. But that scene kills me every single time. His mother is trying to say as she's dying, I love you. She's trying to say, I love you.
I got emotional when watching that part a lot.
God, that is so powerful. It truly is powerful. And
We haven't even talked about the fact that I'm in the show. I show up at the very end. You remember me? I was there. I didn't really
I
know
love that
what
part.
movie we were doing. They sent me a fake beard and they sent me a ponytail and they said, listen, you can shoot this at home if you want to. And I said, well, that's fine. And they wouldn't tell me what it was for. And I said, okay. And so I shot it on a webcam and I sent it over to them and there I was.
Now, let's talk about the Qui-Gon stuff because
I thought it was for SNL.
did it? Now, you thought it was for SNL. It looked like a parody. Jamie's gone. Folks, we lost Jamie. We're done. It's the Mark and Josh show. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Jamie's back. Hey, just kidding, Jamie. Just kidding, buddy. I'm just kidding. Oh, we can't hear it. We lost Jamie. Yeah, we lost Jamie. Oh, well. Sorry, Jamie. We can't hear you, pal. Anyway, well,
what's your answer?
the fellows are gone. It looks like Jamie's out, and he gave the wrong answer. And that will happen on this show from time to time. If you have an opinion and I feel like it's incorrect, you will be silenced. So let's hear from Mark, who probably has a correct opinion on this. Mark, what do you think about Qui-Gon's appearance at the end of the picture?
I thought that was good.
There you
and
go.
it kind of gets back into, well, actually two things. One, you talked about perspective and also time. So Josh and Jamie, what would you think about this as kind of like a path instead of what we got? What if we spent that time in two, instead of having Obi-Wan and Vader intersect perpendicularly several times throughout the show, what if we had them on parallel tracks, masters and apprentices? We have Qui-Gon appearing to Obi-Wan, teaching him the meditation, transcendence, etc. We have Palpatine interacting with Vader, helping him focus his anger, letting go of his obsession with Obi-Wan and the other Jedi. What if we have them on parallel tracks instead? And if you really absolutely have to, and I understand if you do, for the dollars and whatever, you have them intersect at the very end after they've learned whatever lessons or put a capstone or whatever it is they should have learned during that time.
That's amazing. And that is incredible. And I think that was, and we were sort of talking about that earlier, this idea of like, they almost fight. We never see them fight, but they come close. And it's this idea of they never actually meet, but they're both sort of thinking about one another and we're watching their parallel journeys. And the only time we really saw that was that incredible sequence where they're both in Bacta tanks and they're both healing. And they did this incredible intercutting between Vader and Obi-Wan. And I thought, oh, the show's about to, and then he's like, get me out of here. I'm done healing. That's the end. And that was the end of all that. Jamie, we can't hear you. You want to log back in, buddy? We've lost Jamie Costa. Jamie Costa he's gotten a timeout because of his horrible answer. And of course, the correct answer is it was great to see Qui-Gon Jinn. Mark McKenna knows this and he answered correctly. And that's why he's still on the show. So if you come on the show and you say the wrong thing, you're out. I don't care if you're Jamie Costa, who's a megastar at this point.
All you need is like the Monty Python, like spring-loaded bridge from Holy Grail, right? You get the wrong answer and you just eject us right on out.
You're out. I love that idea. Let's bring back Jamie Costa.
I've learned my lesson.
Okay, Jamie. Now I'm going to ask you the question again because we're almost out of time here. I'm going to ask you the question again. What did you think about Qui-Gon's appearance at the end of the show?
I thought it was so powerful. And
and there you go, folks. And this show was brought to you by Disney. We're shills for Disney. And we're here to tell you that we love all of the new Star Wars shows. Everything you guys do is perfect. And I got to say, Reva, probably the best character going in the Star Wars universe. In fact, I've already ordered a couple of action figures of that character. And no, I haven't been paid by Disney to say this at all. Back to our show. Anyway, fellas.
Oh my God. Okay. So my buddy Ben earlier today said there was like a quote from Kathleen or something. And she goes, we're so excited for what you guys are going to see from Reva character. And that was her only kind of like talk about the Kenobi show. And we're like,
yeah,
That's like telling us in A New Hope, we are so excited to show you guys where we're going to go with R2 and C-3PO.
Guys, you're not going to believe. We have this character, Walrus Man. You're not going to believe what happens with this character in A New Hope. Stay tuned.
In Revenge of the Sith, you guys are not going to believe where we go with Dex.
Guys, you have no idea what's planned for the Nemoidians in Attack of the Clones. When you see this scene where Dooku meets with a bunch of weird people in a cave somewhere, you're not gonna want to wait. You're not gonna want to. I mean, look.
It's
what was
like
that guy? Newt Gunray? Was that his name? Newt Gunray?
Yeah.
Who was that Nemoidian? Shooter or something. I love that guy so much. That is so George, by the way. Can we just talk again? I love George so much, and clearly I have a wig that's made to look like George Lucas, but I've played George so many times. I love the guy. It's out of a deep love and respect for him as a filmmaker and a storyteller. There is a certain thing that George does, and I don't know if you've noticed this, and he does it on purpose. And I learned this through the commentary tracks, where what George does is he does this thing where a scene will end. And so, for example, you have the Nemoidians. It's in Phantom Menace. They're on Naboo. All the droid armies have captured everybody. And one of the guys says, victory. And then what George does is he holds the scene for 5 more seconds purposefully. He's like, well, this is just something I saw in old films where they kind of just hold it for a few more beats. And it makes everything so beautifully awkward because you're like, is the scene okay? The scene's over. And I just,
the wipe wipes away the
wipes.
Well, yeah, but it's also like, congratulations, you conquered the pacifists. Job well
done. Victory. 2, 3, 4, and wipe. Okay, that's good. I mean, that guy sat there with Ben Burt, and Ben Burt was like, George, this is really some crazy stuff. I think we should cut it right after it. No, I think it's great. I think you should hold it for 10 more seconds. George, I got to tell you, this is not working. Well, I may have gone too far in some places, but you know what? I don't really care. So
it's okay. Johnny
pays your checks?
Johnny Williams will help it finish.
Johnny Williams is going to get in there and he'll come up with some bullshit. I don't know. He's got these scores. This guy, he craps this stuff. I don't know what he does. He's a cokehead. You know that? Okay, George, we're done for the day. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I got
Josh. A little thing about Newt Gunray, as strange as it sounds, and you may know this, but one thing I found interesting that George chose to do in Episode 3, when, well, not really Anakin, but Lord Vader goes to Mustafar and he butchers all the separatist leaders. Yeah, I don't think a single one gets more than a flash of a camera cut or a line of dialogue, except Newt Gunray.
Yeah,
Newt Gunray gets a line out. Yeah. He promised us peace or whatever, and then Vader kills him.
Right.
Why?
Oh, yeah.
Why him? Because this is, and I don't know George, but Josh, maybe you've got some special insight. But Newt Gunray tried to kill the love of his life in Episode 1, in Episode 2.
Oh yeah.
And this is his opportunity to say, "Hey, turnabout is fair play. Have a lightsaber to the chest."
You're right. That's what you get for shooter or something. And then in the first one, this one's a decoy.
The novelization actually does really well in Episode 3. So they give Anakin a very 80s one-liner after Newt Gunray says that, and Anakin kills him. Says, "No, because he says the Lord Sidious, promised us whatever," and Newt Gunray says, "He promised we'd be left in peace," and Anakin says, "The message was garbled. He said you'd be left in pieces." Junk.
Oh man, no, that was the original cut of the film, and I actually thought that was a better. George, you cannot have him say this. You got this serious scene where you've killed all these kids, and then you got Jar Jar doing a dance number. What the hell are we doing here? Well, it's extreme, but it's designed to work that way, Dude. And boy, is it ever. I mean, Jamie and I were talking about Attack of the Clones, and just this one scene. There's one scene where Yoda is realizing that
Yeah.
Obi Wan and Anakin are in trouble. He's talking to one of the clone troopers. The land battle of Geonosis has begun, which is still insane. I mean, it is so incredibly done, considering how long ago that was made and the technology that they were using to make that. But Yoda is fully animated, and you can see in the animation that he is deep in thought, and he has to get out of there and go help these guys because they don't know what they're about to come up against with Count Dooku. That is an incredible moment, and we needed more moments like that in this show. That's what this show was missing, I think.
It's funny when you guys mentioned the Revenge of the Sith book. It's one of the best Star Wars books I've ever read. Like, it's so good. It gets right in there. I mean, it gets deep. And
who wrote that? Who's the author of that?
Oh,
Was that
Matthew Stover?
Matthew Stover?
Matthew Stover, I think. Hey, if it's not too unprofessional, I can run and go get it and check. But or
well,
we
you
can
can
Google it.
go ahead. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead. We'll be fine here. Go ahead, Mark. Let me just play with this and see what this does. Oh, that's
that
fun.
novel is so packed full of emotion and Obi-Wan Anakin brother stuff. You know, it's
So, but there's more stuff like the Phantom Menace novel as well. Is there more stuff that sort of fills in the gaps? And
you will not be able to put down Revenge of the Sith. It's a book that you actually it's amazing.
I got to check that out. Oh, there it is. What's he holding up there? Oh, I can't see it. Let me hold. There we go. Oh, it's all blurred out. He's got the blur feature on his. Well, it's Star Wars. Everybody read along.
Yeah, it's Matthew Stover. It's Matthew Stover.
Matthew
I've
Stover.
long since destroyed the dust cover on this guy, so
Okay.
it's just the black one. So it's excellent. Any Star
I'm
Wars,
going to read that.
Anyone who enjoys a good read, you will not watch episode 3 the same again.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to read that because the Phantom Menace book did that for me. The Phantom Menace book has some amazing sequences with Anakin dealing with the Sand People, and there's all these other things that happen in there that are really, 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 really beautiful. Yeah, you should check that out. I don't know who wrote that. Was it Matthew Stover as well? I don't know who wrote it.
It may
Clive
have been.
Cussler. Was that a Clive Cussler novel? Just shut up, George. I don't know what he's talking about. So what's next? How many other shows do we have? Disney has announced 45 new Star Wars shows. I don't care about any of them. Listen, I'm excited for Andor, maybe. What are we excited for? What's coming next? I don't even know. Do you guys know? Sure you do.
So my buddy Ben, we chat our the fan short stuff and theorize Star Wars all day a lot.
Yeah.
But we were saying, like, if we were to ever carry a pitch in, he brought up a series that just was tantalizing, which is furthering on, of course, this lightsaber when the whole disappear act and the whole want of strike downs and realize the learn curve of transcendence. But it takes place where we leave Darth Vader in A New Hope stepping on that cloak going, what the hell? And then there's a show between that and Empire Strikes Back where he's eagerly just investing himself into dark side research to tap in, because that's all their deal is, right? The Sith are all about the cheat of death stuff.
Right.
And so,
because Palpatine's sitting there in his office. What the hell was Palpatine sitting in there looking at in Revenge of the Sith?
Oh,
just sitting there looking at all that the art and different planets and obviously reaching out with the dark side.
That's what this show didn't do is like you said, Mark, we could have been on parallel storytelling things of very pertinent characters towards the main arc of Star Wars. And God, how cool would it be if Emperor was trying to also like just up his game on the dark side and learn transcendent stuff. And of course, like I said, there's so much room to show that that's what he was up to in a Return of the Jedi.
I agree with you, Jamie. I agree with you because, and I want to make sure I say this before I forget, because I feel, speaking about learning how to, not die and how to create new life, I feel that they should have had Qui-Gon show up.
Yep.
And you said maybe in voice only at the moment where Obi-Wan is covered with boulders.
Yeah,
That is the moment where we should hear,
Obi-Wan, what the hell
Yes.
are you doing? Have you learned nothing from my training? Why are you covered in boulders? You moron.
yes.
You cut up fish for a living or whatever that is. I don't know. What's wrong with you, you idiot?
But that is the moment. That is the Empire Strikes Back moment.
It's the trench run pep talk, like from Obi-Wan.
That's it.
He dies, and then you hear him 5 minutes later when he's in the trench run, and that should have, exactly like you said, Qui-Gon should have like come in finally at the moment where the rocks are coming down, and you've realized your purposes and stuff, and then later it makes for a better reveal of the ghost and stuff,
and have more of him, because their playfulness was so welcome, like just that the sort of mirth that, like, what took you so long? Like, I went, oh my god, there he is, there's the guy, we needed you 3 episodes ago.
The reveal was like an SNL sketch where it's not like
it seemed a little silly.
This is everything in that show, is that's what bothered me about, like, reveals of finding out Darth Vader is alive should have taken us 2 to 3 episodes, and then it should have happened in the most not run by way, not like, oh, by the way, at the end of the episode, while you're dodging things in the crates. No, he's got to be almost investigating that,
It's so true. It's like Obi-Wan was on the set of the A-Team. It looked like he was in a warehouse where they would shoot every 80s action series, and Reva's just like, oh, by the way, Vader, he's alive.
And I'm not going to tell you how I know.
I mean, what do we think about a series with Amy Sedaris's character and the pit droids? Because I would watch a whole season of the different pilots and people that come in through there, because I've said this before. I had more emotion. It was more deeply moving, and I actually, I'm going to say it, I wept a little bit during the one sequence in The Mandalorian season 2.
Oh yeah,
where they rebuild the Naboo fighter, the Starfighter. Because it's such a George Lucas, like, American Graffiti, it's got that whole feel to it. But also when he flies that thing, I had this mix of weird nostalgia, because again, I saw Phantom Menace when I was 24.
Yeah.
But somehow, and I have all these Jar Jar action figures. Why is it? Because you can't say like, well, it's because you're little. No, I was 24, and still seeing that ship fly again brought warm feelings to my heart. But it really did. It moved me deeply, more than anything in the Obi-Wan show. Why is that?
Yeah, I didn't get emotional in the show. This is where the only times I got close were Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting, and there's some interesting, little dialogue when the face is off a little bit and stuff, and then a little bit of a flashback.
Yeah.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah, so in terms of emotional reaction, last episode was definitely the most, and then seeing the opening reveal of, I believe, episode 5, where we got the pullback from the Coruscant cityscape, and it's Hayden with the rat tail and all that. Like that, I'm like, oh man, finally we get a flashback. We get to see them, sans Darth Vader costume. Like that was a big moment for me. Interestingly, we didn't really get to touch on this. We talked about it last time, but what got me right off the bat in the first episode was that chase music at the beginning of episode 6. Very reminiscent of the music in episode 5.
Oh
if I recall correctly. And I'm like, oh, that's like John Williams music. Oh man, like that's. Oh,
I will say I did get a little hoot out. When that happened.
Oh, are we Star Warring now? Is this what we're doing?
Yeah,
like,
you guys finally here. Was it now? That is interesting. I mean, I do, and we all sort of agreed on this last time. I think that they should have, because obviously they could, and they were able to. They should have brought these themes in a lot sooner. I think they mistakenly.
You guys was like, I'm purely a fan. I don't have any my knowledge of Hollywood and how these things work is so non-existent. The closest thing I have is you guys. Like, is there a reason why, if they can do it in episode 6, why they can't do it in episodes 1 through 5, apart from a purely artistic choice? Is there like a rule or a contract clause or something that?
No, artistically, no, because we all know if John Williams was really keen to score the show, he would have done that. He would have said, this is a good time to play with the melodies and play with them. You don't have to do them like just copy and paste, but like play with them, do some breather music, whatever. But man, artistically, I would say, nah, that wasn't a great reason why they saved it all.
The Mandalorian, like the Mandalorian score is so good. And so memorable, and it's incredible. He's been around a while, but it's a composer I've not heard of before. And this guy came in and threw down with stuff that was right on the level of John Williams. And I thought, now that's great. And I'm not familiar with the composer of Obi Wan Kenobi. I know that she's done some great work, but this was it was not a very exciting score. And I don't think artistically, I think it was a mistake to go, hey, wait, the moment we bring in the, Vader's theme, it's going to be when he's talking to the Emperor. I thought that was a big mistake. I mean, because it was a little too late. It was
kind of strange. It was a strange move to work so hard to get John Williams to come back. And then he does this one little thing at the beginnings or whatever. There's a little bit of a theme right now for Obi.
Right.
And, it's whatever. It does its job. And then, but it's like we're piecing together now. We're almost doing Frankensteining at this point, where it's like, I'm going to do my own music and we're going to save till the episode 6 to do. Yeah. But we don't know. We talk right now. We don't know what the... maybe that composer wasn't allowed to use the themes until the 6th.
Right.
Just like we weren't given our lobsters, right? Till after the plain meal. We got all these lobsters at the very end that we wanted to throw up because we were filled up on plain junk. But
that's kind of thing. It feels like by saving it all for episode 6, it's almost like nanny nanny boo boo. Like we could have done this the whole time, and we're just going to save it for the end. Like.
Yeah,
either don't do Williams at all, and while I might not like it, and I think it's a mistake, I can at least respect it.
Yeah,
I can just be like, okay, you didn't want to use Williams, you're going to do your own thing. I don't like it, but fine. But by doing just at the end, I'm like,
that's really? Like a Bond movie, and you don't play the music at the very beginning where the little eye thing goes by. Like, you play a different song when the eye thing goes by.
I think there's a fine line like being between like trying to be so different. I understand like trying to be like, hey, we're gonna do something totally different. But when you're dealing with these characters in this specific story, come on, guys. You gotta like just with this specific series that you're talking.
Yeah, this
again,
is your
this is the thing.
Pass.
Exactly. Like you can't. This is what I was talking about earlier about the expanded universe, the novels and the comic books. That was the rule back then. Do not interfere with the main story. You guys. I mean, I have 3 volumes of the Marvel Star Wars comics, the original run, these great omnibuses from Marvel, all the way through to the 80s. And they're wild. There's like a green bunny rabbit that's like buddies with Han Solo, and there's the Hoojibs, the telekinetic bunny rabbit things. But the rule was don't deviate from our story. You can never get into the woods with our story. You can't talk about Luke. You can't get any of that bullshit. You can have Luke in there, but it cannot interfere. And I think that's what happened here. It felt like they were interfering in a very weird way with the story that has been around for so long. And I think just like the Leia stuff, and look, it was all very it was just, and the speech was great. It was so well written. What he said about her parents, and that was really beautiful, but it at the same time it just felt like this doesn't belong here. This is weird.
I could have seen Leia have maybe about 10% of what we saw. I've taken that down from 50. I used to, since critiquing the show and talking with friends, I'm like, give me about 50% of Rev or less, 50% of Leia or less, because and not out of any kind of critique towards those people, anything,
not at all.
Like those actors, everybody, their characters I actually appreciate. I actually think they're all great.
It's a good idea.
They deserve their own show. They go over here and explore that very hard somewhere else. Not take up time.
This is my problem with the whole thing, and I said this before, and I maintain this, and I'll stand by it. Yeah. They have now made Star Wars conventional. They've just made Star Wars kind of like, meh. It doesn't. There's nothing special or weird. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. In parts, it does, and it sort of checks off the boxes of, look, there I am. Remember me? And hello there. You said the thing. But it feels conventional. It feels by the book. It feels like it's just some TV show, and that's just a little disappointing. It's not like Mandalorian, which strays off in a different path and tells a different story about different characters, which is far more interesting. Is it the end of the world? Of course not. And it's fine, and there's a lot of great stuff in it. But what are your final thoughts about the Obi Wan series, fellas?
I got one for you. The whole damn show is about Obi Wan protecting and overlooking Luke, and he's not even on the flipping planet.
Right.
When a person with a lightsaber is hunting Luke, he's not even on. Like Yoda, I could see him over and Dagobah. One job you had,
right?
Like
he even gets upset in that pidgin English.
That's me. That's my biggest gripe.
Yeah. Mark, what are your final thoughts on Obi-Wan the series?
Why isn't Reva dead? She's a massive security risk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't understand.
Well, no, she's not a security risk because I did the math. She still doesn't even know who the hell Luke is. She doesn't even have a great motivation to kill this one kid on Tatooine, Like Jimmy Smith mentioned it.
How pissed is Qui-Gon that this Reva, I think, was run through with a lightsaber twice? Is that right? And a Jedi Master was taken out one time? I can't believe it. I don't know where I went wrong.
Wait, are you serious? She got hit twice with one.
Didn't she get hit twice? Maybe once. Maybe I'm.
Well, once as a child by Anakin, and then once
that's right.
Even as a kid, she could take it more than Qui-Gon.
How upset is?
I cannot believe this. There must be a high concentration of midichlorians.
There are lots of midichlorians on her spine.
Hello. I still love when Obi-Wan walks into the training room with the youngling. Hello.
I never knew that before you mentioned it.
Hello.
I'm gonna actually watch that part.
Oh, Master Skywalker. Have you seen the kid, in Revenge of the Sith, the little kid that says Master Skywalker just before he slaughters all those kids? He reunited with Hayden Christensen recently. He said he's all grown up now, and so he went up to him and he said, now he's like Master Skywalker. That's how he sounds now. And he said that Hayden said to him, "Oh, you survived," which is really great. That's great.
I cut you off, Mark, by the way. Sorry.
Yes.
No, it's okay. It's kind of a rabbit hole, but I'm thinking like, look, because I was thinking like, oh, so like Reva's like not 100% evil now. Obi-Wan's going to have a hard choice. What's he going to do? Is he going to silence her to protect Luke and Leia and, the mission that he's on? Or is he going to use the Force to like mind wipe her or something? Like, what are we going to do? Because she can't live. She knows about the farm. She knows about Luke. She knows that there's some connection to Vader that's obviously relevant. Like, so we got to do something. I thought, might be an opportunity for Obi-Wan to do something, without feeling, to make a hard choice. And that sounds harsh, but what came to my mind was that moment in Rebels when Maul finds them on Tatooine, and they're kind of having their usual banter, and then Maul eventually puts it together, and you can see in the animation Obi-Wan's demeanor change. Like, okay, you said it, now you die. Yeah. And I was wondering if we were going to get something like that, like You found out. Sorry, time to go.
That whole element was gone from the series of protecting Luke, not letting it out of the, by the way, the dumbest thing in the world is that his face got marketed to the world about him being alive. And like, when he's walking around that Coruscant planet in episode 1 or 2 of the series, and then they're like broadcasting that Obi-Wan, the famous Obi-Wan, is alive. Like,
that's right.
Even the Emperor's like watching the morning news and he's like, no shit, like. Like, come
I just
on.
love the whole time I'm watching this show. I just kept thinking of this one YouTuber who does these. He goes, "Did you know that in Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker's hand actually was on the left side and not the right?" There's this one guy that does. He's like, "Did you know in Empire Strikes Back?" So like when Obi-Wan fights Vader and slices off the helmet and leaves this scar on his head, I was like, did you know that Vader got that scar on his head because the one time they fought? And I was like, I didn't need to know that.
No, I'll give you that. They probably will make the video because I already heard it a little bit where there's some kind of artistic relation to this Rebels, I think, where it happened on the other side and then on the other side.
That's right. Oh, with what's her name? Ahsoka. See, that's the other thing. I don't keep up with that show. So they're trying to strike this balance between all these shows. And it did a pretty good job. I just, I don't know. I just don't care, fellas, is my point. Look, Star Wars, once again, just want to remind all of you people at home, if you work for Disney, that we love you. And I subscribe to Disney. I know that Jamie and Mark subscribe to Disney. I'm a lifelong member of Disney Plus, and I'll watch all your shows over and over again every day. In fact, right after this, I'm going to go watch the Obi Wan Kenobi series again. And I'm going to give a whole positive review in an entirely new video where I say nothing but nice things. So thank you so much, Disney, especially for the last 3 films. Those are my favorite. Back to the show, fellas. I like this. I like this shot. It looks like we're on. This is a political debate.
That makes me the moderator, right? I'm in the middle.
That does look like. We got to all talk over each other. Fellas, let me finish. Come
on, guys. We got to get back on subject.
That's enough. Now, Obi-Wan is clearly a loser in this series. So will there be, here's the big question. Do you think there is enough for season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Will they do it? Or is this it?
What do you think, Mark?
If they do a season 2, I would want it to be radically different than this season. And what I mean by that is not that we have to ignore Darth Vader or ignore certain plot elements. What I mean by that is I want the structure to be different. So, and really, and this just I'm just gonna use the example because I gave it earlier. The parallel track thing, it needs to have a different feel to it. Because whatever this was exactly, I don't think is going to work a second time. I mean, Josh, I think it's fair to say you would call this not working the first time. Not really.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, this is not going to go well a second time around with whatever this format is. We need a different story structure in place if this is going to work. Will they do it? If I had to answer, I'd say probably yes, because I think there's been enough positive response and they have the dollars to do it. So if I had to make a guess, I'd say yes, they will, and my hope would be that they radically alter how they tell the story.
Wow,
Jamie?
No, because to me they've already showed me they don't mind not doing things that will definitely win them all credit in the fan base. Like we would have loved to see them do what we expected uniquely, but they didn't even do the things that we wanted till like a last episode. Kind of just got to make sure we say these things, or we'll hear from the fans at our gate. But that was it, because like it just feels like this Obi-Wan show is such a possible movie making, money making show. But if you do it right, it could live much shorter formatted. I think you could have done a 3-part limited series and just kept the focus a little more tight, and then boom. But no, I don't think they're going to do it because I don't think they care.
I think you made an interesting point last time we talked about this show. Almost feels like it was 3 different shows. They had 3 different concepts. One was about the Inquisitors, perhaps. Another was about the young adventures of, Leia. And then there was Obi Wan. And then they had the movie Obi Wan, which it should have been a film. And then they said, well, that's not going to happen. So they just kind of rolled them all into one. That seems to be the most likely scenario, I think.
I think that's exactly what happened, because it was a movie and then it got squished out to maybe a limited series, but they said it's going to be a series. We got to put some things in there that we know we can try for almost like little pilots within Kenobi's show to see if they want to go do a Leia show or a Inquisitor's show from here. I think that's will be what we get. Not an Obi-Wan show, but maybe one of those shows more fully realized.
I think it takes away too much from the mystery. Mark, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, an Inquisitor show where the rest of the Grand Inquisitors hunting down Reva. If they find out she survived, well, that's certainly not out of the question. That's not
just the whole season of that.
What they'll do, Mark, is they'll claim it's a Darth Vader show, and then we'll get like Dex will be his story will be fully like squished in there, and then Reva's story would be like,
hey Reva, I was sub prospecting on I was prospecting on sub Terrell. I was also sub prospecting with a guy named Terrell. No, that's not it. Hey man, there he is now, Terrell. Here's my friend. Reva needs passage to a planet that we just made up. We're going to turn it into a amusement park. It's a planet no one's ever been to before, but it's going to go over really well at Disneyland.
Oh, well, shouldn't it be one of the planets that...
No. Someplace no one's ever been before. Okay, buddy.
And
that would be great.
Yep.
That's...
And the main attraction,
we need more Dex.
And a main attraction will be ushered in by the mole guy, the little mole guy.
The mole guy. You want to talk? You guys want to sling mud at my beloved
Welcome
Jar Jar
to the
Binks.
Empire.
The mole guy has now replaced Jar Jar Binks, as the worst character. Hey, right this way. It's me, the mole guy. Who did the voice of mole guy? Who was mole guy? Was that
That was Zach Braff, wasn't it?
Right?
Zach Braff. Well, listen, I don't want to be bitter, but you got a couple of capable actors over here. I'm not trying to be bitter. And Zach, you're a good guy. In fact, I did some ADR. I did some dialogue replacement for a movie that Zach Braff directed, which starred Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and do you remember this movie? Anyway,
when they go off,
he was it? What was it?
They go off to Vegas with De Niro and stuff, or Michael Douglas.
I think it was one of those movies. And Zach, I went over to Warner Brothers. This is several years back now, but I did some dialogue for Morgan Freeman, and he was like, "Hey, that was really great." And I was like, "Hey, this is Morgan Freeman." Blah blah blah. And then he gave me a nice bottle of Bullet Rye whiskey. So Zach Braff, great guy. I just feel like one of us could have done it. This stunt casting's a little weird. It was weird when Sam Jackson was in, the Star Wars films, but I was okay with that. But this like celebrity cameo stuff, Amy Sedaris is great though. She made that her own. She feels right at home in the Star Wars universe. Almost feels like she could have been in the Star Wars holiday special. And I mean that as a high compliment, like with B. Arthur, you know what I mean? But
I ranked her and the Apologies guy in the same boat.
Oh, the Apologies guy from is that the guy from Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah, Apologies.
Oh, that guy. That guy's great. Who's the other guy that works the front desk? The guy that has like the mustache. He's barely in Book of Boba Fett, but he's got this amazing look. Do you know this actor?
I remember.
He worked the front desk of the mayor's, the main offices there. He's like this. He's like this put upon guy. And it's the best character. And of course, Danny Trejo as the keeper of the Rancor, which
That
is
was actually
just a
pretty
lovely,
good.
that's a lovely scene. That's a lovely, lovely scene. Look, hey, yeah, we're getting all this Star Wars stuff, and I think it's great. But also, there's people out there that thought that Kylo Ren was an interesting character. So what do I know? You know what I mean? I mean, listen, you couldn't make me weep a single tear for the scene where Kylo Ren dies. I could care less, and that's because they painted themselves into a corner. Does it undo everything else? No. I can watch the old films and just have those and not worry about anything else. But all I can tell you guys and everyone else is that when I watch the older Star Wars movies, particularly the prequels, and I don't know why this is for me. I've watched the prequels now, and people are going to go crazy. I've watched the prequels now more than I've watched the original films. And I grew up as a kid going to the theaters to see those films. There's something about the prequels that gets closer to the mark of recreating Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon and those 1940s serials, they were called, that George was trying to do the entire time. And when I watch those movies, and sometimes I've watched them in black and white, and I encourage you, if you're able to change the setting on your TV or your monitor or whatever to black and white. Same with Indiana Jones, particularly Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because it plays like it's from the 40s and the 50s. And it just makes sense. And the way the dialogue is and the effects and the look of it, it's something specific that George was doing. And I'm so happy that we have this new universe. But Jamie made a great point last time. And that was that there's George's Star Wars and then there's the rest. And I think they're just separate entities. Feels that way anyway.
There's not really mythos going on in the other.
No.
And Disney's been up to. There's not much mythos. And I think that's one of the best things mixed with all that stuff that you mentioned that George was into. He mixed so many things and made them work cohesively. It's just beautiful.
And he also had some pretty weird, wacky stuff along the way. I mean, let's be honest. But somehow it worked better.
Helps make it
What's that?
Well, it helps give it a mark of making it special too.
It does. I don't think anyone could quite recreate Anakin Skywalker riding on the back of a giant space cow in the middle of an open field.
I mean, I could have done without that, but yeah.
It is really weird. It's very Sound of Music.
Yes.
I just thought it'd be great if we had this sort of large space cow thing. I don't know. Just kind of put it in there. What are those things called? I don't even know. It doesn't matter. We can do it.
The biggest question is, will we see Mace Windu ever come back?
I think so.
Because no one dies.
Mark, do you think that Mace Windu's coming back from the dead?
Not with Sam Jackson.
Not with Sam Jackson. Like a bird to the crisp,
I survived. Yeah. I was hanging out. I was living down in the city. I survived. You remember when I fell?
Well, I stopped myself because they already established that like Obi Wan could stop little Leia from falling. So maybe real quick, Mace Windu was like, "Oh no!" and then he went, "Bleh," and then he like stopped himself, and then he's been hanging out.
Yeah, it kind of gets back into the thing, Josh. We're talking about is, do we need this? Do I need like a young Mace Windu show? No, I don't.
We didn't need any of this. Yeah. We didn't need any of this, is what I'm going to say. This is my controversial thought. We don't need any of this. I love the mystery of Alec Guinness's performance, the scene in A New Hope. Of course, George didn't know what this would become. He didn't know this thing would be this out of control, super success. Obviously, it's great to see Obi-Wan, and Ewan McGregor's great. And I love the prequels. But that scene where Alec Guinness Obi-Wan is hauntingly talking about his good friend and the Clone Wars and the sadness and the pain in his eyes. It's like I don't really need to know everything. There's got to be some mystery. But when you're Disney Plus and you got a schedule to fill, well, folks, we're going to tell you everything, folks. But you want to know how Dexter Jetster got his name? We got a whole show for you. Stay tuned.
and we're gonna from a certain point of view that's not the main character.
That's right. It's going to be the story of Obi-Wan from Newt Gunray's point of view. Huh? Something new. Check it out. We got a whole new show. Newt Gunray's dead, but his son's pissed and he wants revenge. It's young Nudo Gunray. 2 episodes. Stay tuned. Miniseries. You want to see Little Leia? You think you're not going to get a Little Leia series now? Oh, you're going to get a Little Leia series. And I would love to see Little Leia with Jimmy Smits again. Those two were beautiful together.
Don't have her run through that cardboard forest, though.
What are you talking about? How dare you?
That was a little rough.
All right, fellas.
I wouldn't mind I could do with teenage Leia learning the ropes of how to help run a rebellion.
Sure,
you got some political intrigue. You've got potential for action, tension,
and high
stakes. You've got some material there.
A visit or two from Yoda to check on Leia.
Yeah, see, that's the problem is if they're tempted to dip into the well,
No, I think they should do that. That's a great idea. And then every time after they meet with her, they use the Force to wipe her memory.
Well,
and that's what Obi-Wan does.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. There was a shot in the show, I think it was the last episode, when I was like, I thought Yoda was going to come walking out of the ship down to Jimmy Smits and them, like
right.
But they like kind of under-delivered, and I'm like, this is anticlimactic. I didn't think you would actually show Obi-Wan because it would be too easy because it's not like we weren't like, I don't know. It was so anticlimactic. I thought
they did build it up.
Yeah, the way they were sitting on that shot, I was like, well, we've seen Obi-Wan. We know it would be Obi-Wan. So like, I thought Yoda was going to come and be like, is she showing, or whatever? Like, is she showing Force use and stuff?
Well, hi, this is a Disney executive here. We actually had a really great idea for that scene, and I pitched it, and I still think it's fabulous. We were going to show the sort of the ramp open on the ship, and it was kind of this, who's going to be moment. And we were going to have young, wait for it, we're going to have young Han Solo come out, and it was just going to be this crazy moment where it's like, wait a minute, and they kind of look at each other like, I'm going to know you at some point. It sort of parallels the Anakin and Padme, but they weren't going for it. Anyway.
No, they were going to have a whole series. They were going to have a whole series.
It's coming soon. That's a new series where they use the Force, just like they did with C-3PO. They're going to wipe everyone's memories. And it's going to be it's a funny show. It's a comedy, and it's where everyone's memories get wiped. And it's just called Wiped.
And there's a lot of these edits.
That's right. And that's what Disney's doing, folks. Let me just say very quickly before we go. And that is what Disney is doing with Star Wars. In a sense, they're wiping the collective ass of the fan base with Star Wars. And if you love Star Wars as I do, that's great. And if you find some enjoyment in some of these shows, I'm not here to stop you. But Uncle Josh is here to say that it's all a bunch of money-making horse shit. George, we miss you. Help me, George Lucas. You're our only hope. I want to thank my guests, Mark McKenna, who joins us in CNN format, and Jamie Costa. There we go. Tell us, I love this part of the show. Tell us what you fellas are up to and where people can find you. Mark, where can people find you on social media? And should they find you? And do you want them to find you?
I am perfectly content in my relative anonymity.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the offer.
Okay. You're a smart man, Mark. And Jamie Costa, you have been, in a sense, laying low or pulling back on the socials. And I have in a similar way followed suit. And let me tell you, it's a beautiful thing. It really leads to inner peace and you get a lot more done. Is there any place, though, having said that people can find you and stalk you on social media and tell you what they think about you?
It's like you said, Josh, I feel like I'm in this Qui-Gon state while I'm not on socials. Just at peace before I fight a Darth Maul. And
and
it
it's
just
really
feels
nice
great to be seeing the more important things of our life. But
Yeah.
But no, you can find me on YouTube if you're so
There you go.
desperate, want to see some things and whatever.
Well, I appreciate that. And I thank you guys for coming on. And look, we're going to, this is just kind of a fun broadcast that we've done here today. I have wanted to get back into this for a while, still working out all the bells and whistles. Eventually, yes, I'd like to have some graphics and we can roll in some video and things like that. Eventually, I'd like to come on and do other characters like the Reverend Apostle BG and all those kind of things that people really love. And really, thank you, Jamie, for sort of suggesting it and kind of, I don't know, lighting the fire under my ass a little bit in a very friendly, in a very friendly way. I mean, honestly, a very nurturing way, I should say, because it's been a while since I've done this. And for those of you out there that, again, jokingly, I said at the top of the show, maybe you thought I had passed away or I had quit the business or I was homeless. None of those things are true. And as I always say, sarcastically, but I mean it with love, just Google it. You'll find out everything that I've been working on. I will say that I have a new Audible series coming out, which is called, it's Moriarty. It is a Sherlock Holmes mystery, and I play a number of characters in that. I also have a Audible dramatic series out right now called Fish Priest, with stars Ethan Hawke, and I think I play like 15 characters in that. Very thrilled to be doing a lot of stuff for them. And there is also a great show called Inside Job. It is an animated show about the shadow government. It is very funny. It's from the folks who brought you Gravity Falls. I know a lot of people love that show. Season 1 is on Netflix right now, and they're about to release season 1 part 2, which is the thing that we do now on Netflix. And I've done a ton of voices for them, and I really would love for you guys to check that out. Also, one more thing, because I'm only saying this because people have been asking. I have a show coming out it's on ABC, called The Final Straw. It's a new game show, and it's really, really fun. It's hosted by Janelle James, who plays the principal on the great Abbott Elementary, which is a huge hit on ABC. July 10th on ABC, The Final Straw, and I play the announcer, Fred, and have all kinds of fun back and forth with Janelle James. So, and I'm really excited to do stuff outside of the voice world. And Jamie and I have talked about that. And, we sort of did a little thing with the Kenobi film where you graciously brought me in to play
Qui-Gon Jinn at the very end of the movie.
And who knew that it would actually happen in the real Obi Wan series for Disney?
And at the beginning, be calling out for Qui-Gon.
Calling out for Qui-Gon the way it should have happened. If you like the Obi Wan series, or if you didn't, I encourage you to check out Jamie's. It's just called Kenobi, which is what the show should have been called. It's now in 4K, right? It's available in 4K.
That's correct.
Who directed that?
My buddy Jason Satterland.
Jason Satterland. It's an incredible film. Like it takes its time. Something we were talking about before. One of the big problems I had with the new Obi Wan Kenobi series is it was in a rush, and it should have taken its time. And the short film, even though it's 17, 18 minutes or something. I mean, it feels like it feels like a full movie because there's so much that happens in it, but it still somehow takes its time to really understand Obi-Wan. And I think you feel more of the pain of what he's going through. Jamie, of course, gives a great performance as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's an amazing film. And it looks beautiful too. It's beautifully shot. So check it out, Kenobi, and follow Jamie on YouTube. Don't follow Mark McKenna anywhere. Leave him alone. Just leave him alone, okay? Stop bothering him and his family, okay? Anyway, thank you guys, and we're gonna do this again, and we'll have fancier bells and whistles. And thank all of you really for watching. I haven't done something like this in a while, and judging by the comments, you guys have been nice. That's amazing. But we'll probably not do this live next time. All right, we'll see you guys. Don't forget, this show was not brought to you by Camlink 4K from Elgato, nor was it brought to you by StreamYard, but maybe it will be next time. That's it from here.
May the Force be with you.
Always.